For this next programming assignment, we're going to do the switch statement. Again, control flow. We looked at if, else in the last one. Now we're going to do switch. So get a check mark right next to this area and turn it in for credit. And what you need to know about this one is one thing that we haven't looked at, which they kind of just assumed that you knew, was the else if statement. And so here's how you put the else if statement in. And so the if statement, we saw this, right? We saw the if statement and the else statement. So if this is true, then do that. Otherwise, do this. But there's also this else if. And else if allows you to evaluate other conditions. And so if we had a variable here, my var is equal to 5. And if I'm evaluating my var equals 1, right? And then I could say, hey, it's equal to 1. And then I could add else if statement. If my var is equal to 2, and I could say 2, and I could keep adding else if statements as many as I wanted. All right, if it's equal to 2, if it's equal to 3, if it's equal to 2, do all that. If it's equal to 3, do all of that. If it's equal to 4, do all that. If it's equal to 5, do all that. Otherwise, just do else. And so here you can see my var is equal to 5, so it did this else if right here, and it printed out a bunch of 5s. If I had 6 up here, it's just going to say else. If I had 3, it's going to say 3. So that's the else if statement, and that's something you need to know about for doing this week's assignment. One other thing which you should know about is on this third one here, when we learn about the switch statement, it's going to ask you to sort of fix this code. And one of the things you want to look for in fixing that code is, well, I think that's working now. Let's see what happens if it's like this. That works. And if it's like this. All right, so if it's not evaluating, you might try changing these single quotes to double quotes. It's evaluating now for me. For some reason, it wasn't earlier. And if you're confused, PHP single quotes versus double quotes. And so you could read about the difference between single quotes and double quotes. I don't think it matters, but I'm not a PHP expert, so you can read about that on your own time. All right, so that's those are kind of like the two things you need to know when doing this week's assignment. And if you want to see my answer to the final problem, number 6, here's what I put together. When you're doing the final problem, number 6, you can look back to number 5. You could even kind of just copy number 5, Control-C, come to number 6, Control-V, and paste it in and change it around. That's a good way to do it, too, if you don't want to do all that typing. But the typing helps you learn. So there's my answer to number 6. Get that check mark next to control flow switch. Take a picture, take a screenshot, and turn it in.